I never condone this type of behavior and this type of destruction, but everyone has a breaking point, and at a certain point, people will go over the edge. And as the greed and the sickness of self-indulgence increases, as these billionaires and millionaires only care about themselves and their own well-being and their own bank accounts, this type of behavior may continue to happen and may be on the rise.
If you're not going to pay us enough to live or afford to live, at least pay us enough not to do this. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to... There goes your inventory.
This is a video uploaded by Shamal Abdul Kareem, a 29-year-old resident of Ontario, California, burning down the Kimberly Clark inventory, which cost $500 million in damage and lost inventory, and at least a couple $100 million more to rebuild it back up. And I find this story extraordinarily fascinating for a number of reasons. One, the point he's making, all you had to do was pay us enough to live. So I looked up what Kimberly Clark pays its warehouse workers. It's about $23, $24 an hour, about $46,000, $47,000 a year. And then I compared that to what it costs to live in Ontario, California. And for one person, it costs about $67,000 a year to live, just to basically get by. So Kimberly Clark is paying its employees $20,000 less per year and expects them to get by on that salary. And then I thought, well, hold on, are they making enough money? And I looked up their financial statements, and on $20 billion revenue, they're making about $2.55 billion in profit, in net profit, every single year. So I divided that by the number of employees that Kimberly Clark has, which is about 38,000, and I thought, okay, if they were to pay their employees an extra $20,000 a year, get them to a place where they could afford to work where they live, get them to $67,000 a year, what would that cost? Well, it would cost them about $750 million. They would still have nearly $2 billion in profits every single year and have every employee get enough money to live where they work. Right now in the United States, 60% of Americans are not being paid enough just to get by. And there's this mythology that, well, just work harder, Americans are lazy. And this is trash. This is nonsense. They want us to think that billionaires need more tax cuts, otherwise they're not gonna work. And for young people or low income people or poor people, giving them more money is gonna make them lazy. It is absolute nonsense. The trickle-down scam is nonsense. Billion-dollar corporations are paying the lowest tax rate of any modern era. Billionaires are paying a lower tax rate than any demographic in America. I'm not endorsing what Shamal Abdul Kareem did. I am saying that what his anger and frustration is grounded in reality. Corporations are making billions in profits and not paying their own workers the basic standard they need to live. That is a fact, and denying that will continue to cost corporations even more money as people lash out to the injustice, the economic violence being imposed upon them.